Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Nick Cosgrove and I'm back with this week's No Filter Q&A. This is the episode where I answer all questions related to diet, training, and supplementation that I've received from our in-house clients, online clients, as well as a few of our online followers. Remember, if you have any questions related to your nutritional plan, workout program, supplements you're taking, not taking, considering taking, please feel free to email me those questions at nick@foreverfitperformance.com, or you can also DM me those questions on my Instagram at @fitcosgrove_. So let's get started with this week's No Filter Q&A with question number 1. Hi, Nick. What ab exercises would you recommend I do to firm and tighten my midsection? Before you focus on firming and tightening your midsection through abdominal exercises, you should be focused more on what you're doing with your dietary nutritional plan first. Okay. That's number 1. So I see this quite often in the gym. I see a lot of people doing tons of ab exercises. And listen, you can have a great set of abs, but if there's a layer of fat covering it, you're never going to see those abs. So the first thing is to get your nutritional plan in check. Make sure that you're consuming lots of healthy fats, moderate complex carbohydrates, and a high protein diet. Then second, when you're doing your abdominal exercises, I would treat them like every other muscle group. You don't train them every day, right? If you train a muscle group every day, it's not going to just magically appear or get bigger or get more defined. Okay, that's not going to happen. You have to rest it. So if you're training a muscle properly, it's going to need rest and recover. So what I recommend doing is when it comes to abdominal training, I'm a huge advocate of doing exercises like lying leg raises, hanging leg raises. If you're unable to do hanging leg raises, you can also do hanging knee raises. Those work the rectus abdominals. Sit-ups are great for the transverse abdominals, reverse crunches, bicycles. I mean, there's tons of abdominal exercises out there. I don't necessarily think that one exercise is better than the other. What I do think though is that if you are doing your abdominal workouts, what I would do is take 2 or 3 exercises and I'd put them back to back. So for example, with my abdominal workouts, what I'll typically do is I'll start off with some hanging leg raises, and then immediately I'll go to the floor and I'll do a round of sit-ups. And then from there, I'll go into some reverse crunches. And then I'll repeat that about 2 or 3 more times. So I'll end up doing like a circuit of 3 stations, 3 rounds, 9 sets. And then that's it. And I'll do that twice a week. And that right there is sufficient. I find that's more than enough. I train the abs hard. I have a 6-pack in the morning, but after my first glass of water, it's gone. So it's there in the morning anyway. But my body fat levels are probably around 12, 14% right now anyway. So again, I can't stress this enough. If your goal is to have ripped abs, you're going to have to look at your diet plan. Absolutely. Because really, guys, you can't out-train a shitty diet. And I know it sounds cliche, but when people say abs are made in the kitchen, there's a reason for that, because it comes a lot down to the nutritional plan. Okay, so get your diet in check. Abs no more than twice, maybe 3 times a week, but you shouldn't be doing more than that. And if you are doing more than that, you're probably not training your abs hard enough. Okay, so the answer to that question, I like every ab exercise. If I were to pick my top 3, it would be hanging leg raises, lying leg raises, and reverse crunches. That's just me personally. That's what I like to do. All right, next question. Hi, Nick. How low down should I bring the bar while doing barbell military presses in the gym? Good question. Use my Dyson vacuum. So barbell military press in the gym, right? Ideally, when you are doing a barbell military press, you want to go all the way up, right? But when you come back down, what I see people doing in the gym wrong is they either drop the bar too low or they don't bring the bar down low enough. So what I typically recommend people do is to bring the bar down so it's parallel to your chin, okay? So you go all the way up, come all the way down, so you bring it parallel to your chin and right back up again. Problem is, if you drop this bar too low, you're putting unnecessary strain on your rotator cuff. Problem is, if this bar doesn't go low enough, you're not working the anterior deltoid to the full extent. So you want to make sure you're bringing that bar parallel to the chin so you can keep perfect contraction on those muscle bellies. So ideally, what I typically recommend is when you're doing a barbell military press parallel to the chin, don't forget to 1 leg back. That's going to help support the lumbar region. Okay, so barbell military presses are a tricky exercise. So make sure that you know what you're doing before you get into the exercise itself. I see a lot of times people doing this exercise incorrectly, and it can really, really cause some serious injuries. So it's more of an advanced movement. So just make sure you have proper foot placement and you're bringing that bar, as I said, parallel to the chin, not lower, not higher. And don't worry about the weight. The weight's not important. Its form comes down to everything on a barbell military press. Okay. Good idea. Keep the rep range between 10 to 15. So that will stop you from going too heavy. Let's get a little bit of light in here. 1 second. That's better. It's too dark. Okay, next question. Hi, Nick. How long should my workouts be? I try to keep them under 1 hour, but sometimes I find I get too tired or bored and can only last around 30 minutes. Is this enough time if working out 3 to 4 times a week? So it's not the amount of time you spend in the gym that matters. It's what you do in the gym during that time that matters. So I find, for me personally, over the years, I find the perfect amount of time for me to work out, about 45 minutes, 45 minutes. None of my workouts are longer than that. And again, it's what I do with that time. So I get more done in 45 minutes than some people get done in 90 minutes in the gym. So it's not about necessarily how much time you spend in the gym that matters. It's, again, what you're doing in the gym that matters. So use your time efficiently. And I've spoken about this before, so I'm not going to go into too much details, but again, if you're spending 2 to 3 minutes of rest in between sets, you're cruising Instagram, playing on Facebook, texting your buddies, that's going to obviously take your focus off the workout. You're going to lose that intensity. So usually what I advise people to do when they go to the gym is your phone, keep it on for music, but there should be no reason you're checking social media, taking selfies, or anything like that. I think 30, 45-minute workouts are fine. Honestly, if you can, 40 to 45, like I said, that's usually that sweet spot for me. But if you only have 30 minutes, do it. To me, again, a 30-minute workout where you're going all out in the gym nonstop and your rest periods are 30, 45 seconds max between sets, and you're doing high volume exercises, you're going like nonstop, lifting as heavy as you can. I think that's way more effective than doing 90 minutes of a half-ass workout where you're checking your phone every set and you're resting 2 to 3 minutes between each set. So no, I don't think the time is relevant. I think it's, again, what you do in the gym. So don't worry too much about how much time you're spending in the gym. Just focus on what you are doing in the gym. And if you can leave the workout saying, I can't do anymore, then you've worked your muscles to true failure. Like when I'm done a leg workout, I know I cannot do anymore. I can't do one single squat. I can't do one single lunge. I'm done. And that's the way a lot of my clients feel after leg workouts or even upper body workouts. Like, no, I'm done. I need to get out of here. So again, find that sweet spot. I think 30 to 45 minutes is sufficient. I don't think you need to be in the gym for 60 to 90 minutes. I mean, our standard personal training sessions are 60 minutes, but don't forget too, there's a lot of back and forth with instruction. When your trainer is teaching you how to do an exercise properly, there's a lot of form and execution through that as well. So we're not spending 60 minutes of just all out training. A lot of that goes into the instruction as well. So most of my clients will train for a good 45 to 50 minutes, and there's 10 minutes of instruction on how to perform each exercise. So again, 40 to 45 minutes is what works for me. I don't think you need to be in the gym longer than 60 minutes. Okay. Nick, in your experience, are there still lots of women who think lifting weights will make them look bulky? And do you think women should keep the weights light if they don't want to get too big? No, I don't think women should keep the weights light if they don't want to get big, because I've yet to see a woman that gets too big from lifting weights unless they're using anabolic steroids. I haven't seen that. Overall, women don't have the amount of testosterone that men have to get big muscular bodies, right? Instead, what I've seen when women lift weights, I've seen develop that very lean, hard, defined muscle. I hate using that word tone, so I'm not going to use the word tone. The word tone is ridiculous. It's almost as ridiculous as burpees. So again, I don't find that weightlifting makes women big. Okay, so just let's get that out of the way. If there is a woman that says, well, lifting weights makes me bulky, yeah, maybe it's her genetics and maybe she's just a bigger boned person and had the illusion of lifting weights makes her look bigger. But again, I would be going back to the nutritional plan and saying, well, wait a second, what does your diet look like? Diet is key. So I don't think weights are going to make someone look ridiculously big unless you're a genetic freak or you're on anabolic steroids. I've yet to see that with any women I work with. And to answer your question with regards to so if women think lifting weights will make them look bulky, I mean, I can't answer for all women, but what I've noticed over the years is I have more and more women working with me now than ever before. And I think that's because the younger generation understands that weights will not make you look bulky. My mom's generation, a little bit different, where, the 60 plus, they were told that lifting weights will make you look bulky. So that mindset is still there, I find, with the older crowd, like the baby boomers. But the younger generation, they get it. They understand that, no, I'm not going to get bulky up that. So I see more and more women in the gym now than ever before. When I first started training in gyms, it was primarily men in the weight room and women in the cardio room. So that's changed a lot over the last 20 years. But again, I do not think that weights will make women bulky. And the women I train obviously don't think that, or else they wouldn't be working with me, right? So I think it's something that's changing over time. And there are a lot of older women now in the gym too. Like, I do see women who are 60 plus years old in the gym. I have a few clients who are in their mid 60s in the gym. So they understand now too. But back when they were in their 30s and their 40s, they were told that lifting weights would make them look bulky, right? So, I mean, we didn't know as much about exercise science as we do today. So the industry has evolved, and more people are understanding that, no, this will not make you look bulky. In fact, it's going to actually allow you to have those glutes, those perky glutes. It's going to allow you to have toned arms, toned shoulders. So lifting weights is now considered a good thing, not a bad thing. Okay. So to answer that question, I can't answer for all women, but the women I work with, they know that lifting weights will not make them look bulky. I've yet to meet a single woman that has been gotten so-called bulky from lifting weights, unless, of course, they're using anabolic steroids. And again, there are a few people out there who can just put on muscle very quickly, naturally, women included. And in that case, I would just be looking at their nutritional plan. But I do not suggest lifting light weights just to keep that toned look. Don't do that. All right. Okay. Nick, if I'm eating lots of food and feel recovered, can I train twice a day in the gym? I know most people think this is overtraining, but I've done it a few times and feel really good afterwards. If you feel good, do it. I've done that before. I've trained twice a day plenty of times. I wouldn't suggest doing it every day of the week, but on the odd time, if you're feeling like, you do a chest workout in the morning, you feel like you can come back and do a back workout at night, do it. I see nothing wrong with that. As long as you're, like you said, you're eating an adequate amount of food and you're recovering and you're sleeping well, why not? I mean, there's no rule of thumb that says it has to be 24 hours. You have to work out every 24 hours, right? You don't have to work out the next day. If you're feeling rested and recovered, I say do it. Now, here's the thing, though. I wouldn't suggest doing the same muscle group. So if, for example, let's say you do chest in the morning, I wouldn't come back and do shoulders, because don't forget, when you do a chest workout, you're using a lot of your anterior deltoids in your pressing movements. So that's why I would suggest doing, if you're doing chest in the morning, maybe come back and do back at night. If you're doing shoulders in the morning, maybe come back and do arms at night. If you're doing legs in the morning, well, firstly, I don't think I could do another workout after a leg workout, but if you feel you could, you might want to come back and do some core and cardio at night. Right. So it's just about making sure that your sequencing makes sense. But I don't see anything wrong with that. I've done that before. I've done it plenty of times. I actually still do that to this day. There's times where I know I have a really busy day, let's say on a Tuesday, and I have a slower day on Monday. I'll train in the morning Monday, and I'll come back and I'll train again on Monday night. So I'll get my 2 workouts in and I'll skip Tuesday. And honestly, I've never had any problems with that. I think what happens is people run into overtraining when they're overtraining the muscle belly, the muscle groups, and they're not programming properly. So like I said, if you're combining chest and shoulders in the same workout or on the same day, if you're doing training twice a day, that's overuse on those anterior deltoids. So I wouldn't suggest doing that. So just make sure the programming makes sense. I would still focus on maybe doing agonist in the morning, antagonist muscle group at night, and that way you're balancing out the muscles, right? And then you won't cause any, you also won't cause any muscular imbalances. So it's not something I'd recommend doing 5-6 days a week, maybe once or twice a week. If you feel you've got energy, do it. Just make sure you are getting enough sleep and you're recovering, you're getting enough, not just food, but enough water as well. You should be looking for at least 2 to 3 liters of water per day, especially right now in the summer. And yeah, I say do it. I don't see anything wrong with that whatsoever. I'm also not a firm believer in overtraining. I should mention that, but I'll save that for another episode. All right. Next question. Nick, is it okay to have dairy in my diet? I keep hearing it's bad for me. It's not that dairy is bad for us. It's just that it doesn't really have any advantages to it for us either. Some people will argue and say, oh, no, calcium. Well, listen, if you want calcium, A, you can just take a calcium supplement, or B, just get all your greens in. There's way more calcium in spinach than you're ever going to get from a glass of milk. There is. So that whole ideology that, dairy is good for our bones and all this, yeah, maybe when you're an infant, but not now as an adult. You don't need it. There's no reason to have it. So when people try to make that argument and say, no, I need the calcium, it's good for my bones, I call bullshit, because you can get way more calcium from greens than you ever will from dairy. And if you don't believe me, just check nutritional labels. Okay. That's a simple Google search. So I'm not saying that dairy is bad. There's some dairy that I actually will include on people's nutritional plans. Like I like using cottage cheese, for example. I find cottage cheese is very high in protein. Preferably, I like people to stick to either dry or 1% cottage cheese, not the 2%. I'm not against people using milk. It's just that when you have other alternatives that you can use, such as almond milk, which is much more nutritious for you than regular milk, why not go with the more nutritional one, right? Again, it's because people like the taste of dairy, right? And I understand that. So I'm not going to sit there and say dairy is bad, because anyone who loves cheese is going to get on my case and say, oh, no, I eat cheese all the time and I feel great and I look great. Great, do it. But I wouldn't recommend having dairy on a regular basis. Don't forget, too, that a lot of people, as we get older, myself included, we get a little bit more lactose intolerant. So there's a lot of people that I work with that they find that they can't actually digest dairy very well. So that's another thing you have to watch for with dairy. There's a lot of people that don't even know they're lactose intolerant and they're consuming dairy and they're wondering why they're always bloated or they're breaking out. I'm like, well, have you checked to see that maybe you're a bit lactose intolerant? I mean, I have some clients, when they have dairy in their cheat meal, they have to have a digestive enzyme after, right? Just to help them digest the food. So it's not that dairy is a bad food. It doesn't really offer us any nutritional value. So therefore, I don't really include much dairy on plans. And as I said, there are people where I will include it. Greek yogurt is another one I will use from time to time. Again, but these are things that I will use sparingly, and you only use it with people who really like to have dairy on their plans. Myself personally, I haven't touched dairy in over 20 years. So I mean, maybe I've had it in a cheat meal or something, but I don't go out of my way to put it in my plan. Okay. For the reason that I do find that it makes me bloated, it gives me an upset stomach, and honestly, I just don't feel good when I have it. So again, not a bad food, just doesn't really offer any nutritional value. Okay. Nick, do you think regular exercise can help cure people who suffer from depression? Wouldn't this be a safer alternative than popping antidepressant pills all day? That's a tricky question to answer, because again, I'm not a doctor, and listen, I'm a firm believer depression is a real thing. People have chemical imbalances in their brain, and people can have be bipolar, have schizophrenia. Like, there's a lot of mental disorders out there. Do I think exercise can help someone who is depressed? Absolutely. Do I think it can cure someone who's depressed? Not necessarily. I know there's a lot of fitness experts out there that advocate that regular exercise can help beat depression, but listen, there's no studies that can confirm that. You don't know what's going on in someone's head. If someone's suffering from severe depression, going to the gym is not necessarily going to make that go away. And also, you have to remember, too, someone who is severely depressed might have a hard time just getting the motivation to go to the gym, right? So we can't just assume that regular exercise is going to fix someone who is suffering from severe depression. Do I think it would help? Yes, I would. Do I think antidepressants are the answer? Again, case dependent, right? I'm not a doctor. You'd have to talk to the individual who is going through the depression and his or her doctor. And, each case is different. But I think it's reckless behavior on anyone's part just to tell someone who's depressed, oh, just go to the gym. Because listen, again, that's not necessarily going to solve the problem. It might solve the problem for some people, but overall, I can't say to someone, if you're suffering from severe depression and you're having suicidal thoughts, just go to the gym and do a leg workout, you'll feel better. You can't say that, because you're not in that person's head. You don't know what that person's going through, right? And that's another reason I get really defensive around people who have a hard time going to the gym and people who call them out and say you're just being lazy. Not necessarily. There's a lot of people who want to go to the gym. There's a lot of people who want to exercise, but you don't know what's going on in their personal life. They could be going through a family member's passing away. They could be going through losing their job. They could be going through a breakup, whatever it is. And, that's triggered some form of depression and they just can't get out of it. So I think it's good to have mental health advocates out there that can help people who are depressed. And exercise is a tool to use, absolutely. But I do not think it can solve depression overnight. And I don't think that it should be used as the answer for everyone who's depressed. We can't just white blanket everything and say, okay, everyone who's depressed, go to the gym. No, that's reckless to say that. So I again, case dependent, but I do think it can definitely help because we know that exercise releases endorphins and endorphins make us feel better, right? So absolutely, exercise is great for depression. Do I think it can cure depression? No. Okay. Oh, a real estate question. Hi, Nick. As someone who lives within the downtown core, what are your thoughts on rental rates right now in Vancouver? They're high. Yeah, I think you're looking at about $2,800 for a one bedroom downtown Vancouver. That's about 650 square feet. That's pretty high. As someone who owns this place, it's not something that I have to necessarily worry about. I mean, thank God I don't have a mortgage because I know interest rates are going up. And I've seen actually, I have a few clients that are having to deal with that now, especially the ones who are on variable rates, and the interest rates have gone up, so their mortgages have gone up. That's really hard. And if they have someone in there paying the rent, they can only raise the rent in BC 2% per year, right? So their owners are kind of caught in a corner now too. So it's not just affecting renters. But if you are a renter and you're looking for a one bedroom in Vancouver right now, and yeah, you're going to look at that 27 to 2,800 square 27, sorry, 2,700 to 2,800 for about 650 square feet, 700 square feet, I believe right now. That seems to be what the going rate is downtown Vancouver. That's hard for a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people don't even make that in a month, right? Or they make that in a month and they have just a few $100s left over for food and for other bills. So it is hard. The problem I see with that is it's going to scare a lot of people away from the downtown core. You're going to get people who just can't afford it and they're going to move out of the downtown core. And that becomes a domino effect on businesses like mine if people can't afford to live downtown. Now, a lot of my clients who live downtown, which listen, I would say about 80% of my clientele live in the downtown core. If they have to move further out, that's going to make it a little bit more of a challenge for them to come down and see me. So now my business gets affected, right? So it's a domino effect on not just residents, but also small businesses. The one thing I will say, though, is that when I see a lot of people bitching about rents and complaining about how expensive it is to live in Vancouver, these are the same people that believe in taking 2-3 days off of work. They don't want to work 40-hour weeks. Listen, if things are expensive, work more. Learn to invest, right? learn how to actually funnel your money into different areas so that when things do go up, that you're okay. One of my goals was when I first bought my condo I wanted to pay it off as soon as possible. A lot of people said, no, you don't need to worry about that because interest rates are so low. You should invest in the stock market and all these things. And I was like, listen, speaking of my parents from when housing went up in the 1980s, so I think it went up to 18%, they almost lost their home. Talking to clients who also almost lost their homes in the 1980s and here in Canada because interest rates went so high, I was thinking, I don't want to risk it. I want to pay off my place as soon as possible. Looking back now, that was a good move because I'm not affected by interest rates. It doesn't affect me. How they can go up to 20%. That won't have any impact on me whatsoever. So again, it's what you decide to do with your money. And you don't have to own a place to invest, right? You can invest in the stock market. There's ways you can get a GIC for all, pays 5%, whatever you want. Just, you have to be smart with your money. You might have to get a few roommates. When I first moved out, I had roommates. You do what you have to do. So I don't like when people complain and say, oh, it's not fair, the cost of living event. Yeah, it's expensive to live here. But look what you get. You get great weather, year-round great weather. I mean, it rains on occasion, but it's great weather here. I mean, what more can you ask for, really? If you live downtown, you can walk everywhere. You don't need to drive. So that's what you're paying for. So if you don't like it, then you're going to have to move or get roommates or learn how to budget accordingly, learn to invest. So, but yes, I do think $2,700 is quite high. And I do feel for people who have to pay that, but it can be done. And sometimes you just have to, just think outside the box, work a few extra hours each week, pick up a second job, get a roommate. There's ways around it. Okay. All right. I think we got one more question. Nick, I'm going through a really bad breakup and I'm having a hard time finding the motivation to go to the gym. Should I just take some time off from training until I feel better? I'm just worried I won't be able to focus during my workouts and feel they won't be productive. breakups make bodybuilders. Okay. And what I mean by that is, again, I don't mean bodybuilder that you have to be on stage, tan and posing oil and all this stuff. If you lift weights, you're a bodybuilder. Okay. You're building your body, period. You don't have to ever step on stage and compete. You're a bodybuilder. Whether you're a man, woman, you're a bodybuilder. So, if you're going through a breakup and you're having a really hard time with that, I get it. I've gone through breakups. It can be really hard, mentally distraught. It can cause all kinds of issues. It can throw you off your game for sure. But use that energy in the gym. Use all that anger, all that sadness, and throw that energy into the gym. Where else can you put it? Laying on your couch and your sofa, just listening to music or watching TV, sitting there depressed, that's not the way to go about it. If you can find that energy, that motivation to get yourself to the gym and use that energy towards your workouts, into the weight room, lift as heavy as you can, lift as intense as you can. I promise you will feel better. It will help. It's not going to solve it again overnight, because it's like the depression thing. It's not going to fix it immediately, but you will feel better. And going through a breakup definitely sucks. I've had clients go through breakups and I've seen how it can affect their workouts. I've had people miss their workouts and it just throws off the routine because you're sad. Maybe you're sad and you want to go and have a few drinks. Well, that's going to create a hangover the next day. So now you miss a workout. And now you're hungover, you want some bad food. So that bad food makes you feel very lethargic. So then you miss another workout. And it's a chain reaction. I've seen that happen many times with a few people I've worked with. So my recommendation is to just take all that anger and sadness that you have right now and just throw it into the gym. And I know it's hard. I get it. I understand. It's hard just to get to the gym when you're feeling like that. But if you can get yourself to the gym, I promise you within those first 15 minutes, after you get through those first 15 minutes, I should say, you'll feel good and you'll want to keep lifting. One of the things when I was going through a really hard time trying to get myself to the gym, not because of a breakup, but for other personal reasons, I always said to myself, okay, I'm just going to go to the gym for 15 minutes. I'm just going to do something. And then I'll leave. And I'm like, okay, I can do that. I can go to the gym 15 minutes. I might do 1 or 2 exercises. I'll just leave. And, I did that. And that's what I'm saying. After those first 15 minutes, I'm like, you know what? I can do another exercise. I can do another exercise. And then those 15 minutes turned into 45 minutes. And I left and I felt great. So again, I'm not saying that this will fix the problem immediately, but it will definitely help. I think the worst thing you could do is stop going to the gym. I don't think that's a good idea at all, because then you get in your own head and you start, like I said, who knows, maybe you start substituting that sadness and you start thinking, okay, well, alcohol makes me feel better. Junk food makes me feel better. And then all of a sudden, yeah, temporarily, but then you feel like shit the next day. Whereas with the gym, you feel good afterwards, and you get more motivated to go back the next day. So that would be something that I would try to gear my energy towards. Again, I'm not a relationship expert. That's why I don't give relationship advice. But when it comes to the gym, I definitely believe if you're going through anything, not just a breakup, but anything in life that's causing you sadness or depression, to just try to find that energy. And that's the hardest part, is trying to find that energy and that motivation, that self-motivation to get to the gym. That's why a lot of people hire personal trainers, because they don't have that self-motivation and they know a trainer will keep them accountable for their workouts. But get whatever you can just to get your ass to that gym. And I promise you, if you're in there for 15, 20 minutes, you're going to feel better and you're going to get that pump and you're going to get that energy and you're going to keep training. And you know what? That's the attitude you want to have when you approach each workout. And that's in my opinion, a good addiction to have, working out regularly. And so, you know what, I feel better, I feel good, I look good, and soon enough you'll forget about what's his name. That'll happen. That's my advice. Anyway, that is it for this week's No Filter Q&A. I just want to make sure I got all the questions. Yes, I did. This episode will be going up on Tuesday, which I believe is July the 11th. Is that right? I think it's Tuesday, July the 11th. But anyway, it should be going up on Tuesday of this week. Remember, if you have any questions related to your nutritional program, training plan, supplements you're taking, not taking, considering taking, please feel free to email me those questions at nick@foreverfitperformance.com, or you can DM me on my Instagram at @fitcollegegrove_. Guys, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for supporting the channel, and I will see you all next week. Bye for now.